Hello, you are listening to Coaster-852.
A Hong Kong podcast about all things coasters and theme parks. Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Coaster-852. The weather actually been pretty good lately, even though I've just been staying in the UK and pretty much UK is just still in a lockdown situation. But it's good to see some sunshine, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. More sunshine. Although we are still in full lockdown, but we can go outside, have a walk as an exercise while we maybe go to the grocery. So that's also useful.
Yeah, it definitely helps with the mental health aspect, doesn't it? Being stuck at home for the entire time is probably not the best way to care about your mental health.
Yeah.
But talking about work-wise, I had quite a lot of assignments due this 2 weeks, and it's been quite busy. How is workload for you?
Well, heavy as always. And basically, for most universities around the world, actually all of them should be renamed Zoom University.
Yeah, now there's so little you could do, right?
Yeah, just lots going on, and it just doesn't feel like the same thing. It's the same for anyone here who they might opt for something like an Oculus Rift. What I mean is a VR virtual reality, so you can load a roller coaster video. You pop the VR goggles on, and you feel like you are on a roller coaster, enjoying the rides virtually, and possibly have someone, your friends or your family, to help you with a 4D experience, so they can with your chair and then scream like ah!
Love it. That's what coaster enthusiasts do. Basically, just off seasons, they just search up point of view videos of rides that they really like and just like a really nerdy hobby.
Yeah.
But without further ado, let's get into the first segment of our show, Park Spotlight. This week about Tokyo Dome City.
Konnichiwa.
Alright, in terms of this park, actually, would you like to say a bit about the location of the park, HM?
Yeah. So I know that for this park, it's basically located in Tokyo, not quite the outskirts, and not quite right in the center, but it's relatively close to the central area of Shinjuku and Shibuya, Asakusa, that kind of region.
Oh, yeah. In terms of transport wise, it's also very convenient to get to the park because given its proximity to many other tourist attractions and where people usually stay in Tokyo itself, it is very convenient. And also, don't worry about paying an entrance fee because the park is free to enter, even if you are not a big fan of rides, you could still pay per attraction or just take a look at whatever attraction there is. And also, there's two different passes, day pass and night pass, that I think night pass could work out greater option for those of you thinking about visiting Tokyo as a city during the daytime and just enjoying the park at night. Do you think this park will be better at night, HM?
Yeah, possibly think that's a good idea, especially when you're full after having your dinner, possibly going there for a walk. And then at night, all the light comes up, so the park should look very differently from how it looks like in the daytime, looking very modern, which I can already imagine. So other than the light work, I believe there is also a possibility for any couples which they can enjoy a romantic ride.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is quite a romantic park when you think about it, because the big O Ferris wheel in the park, once the world's largest hubless Ferris wheel, it actually has karaoke cars. So if you're dating with someone else, this is probably a good option for you to have a sweet time on Ferris wheel. But it's weird if you enjoy that sort of stuff. That's definitely a romantic place to be. And
It's also undoubtedly easy for most tourists. Not just Japanese songs, you can also choose some English songs, although I believe the selection may not be as wide as you think, but I would say it's pretty convenient. And Chinese too, and Korean.
oh wow, like I didn't know that they have such a wide variety of songs actually. Like when you actually look at it, it's quite unique. But talking about more thrilling rides, there are also quite few, like Thunder Dolphin, most famously the intimate type of coaster that goes through the ring, goes through part of the La Croix building, which is like the spa building. But it's such a iconic ride. Basically, kind of like every video thumbnail uses it when they talk about Tokyo Dome City in general, especially with how the train interacts, like jumping up onto the wall of La Croix and jumping back down. I think it's really cool. Don't you think that, Hashem?
Yeah, definitely agree. And I also want to point out that other than the rides and all sorts of stuff, there's also a shopping mall and a indoor arcade, which many of you guys might know very well. Which I mean, the what the Japanese call the UFO catcher or the claw catcher.
Oh, you mean like crane machines?
Yeah,
Yeah, crane machines are like one of the like although it is clearly like a money waster, it's really easy to like get lost in that sort of stuff. Like it's almost like gambling in a way, but you still do it regardless.
yeah. It roughly for $8 each. So that's 100 Japanese yen, or well, $1 or 70p ish.
Yeah, and other than that sort of attraction, I also know two main attractions. What really attracts me to the park, such as Panic Coaster back then, the launch Gerstlauer family coaster. But without spoiling it a bit, I would just say that if you look up a POV on YouTube, it has a surprise element, which I'm not gonna discuss in detail in this episode because it will ruin your experience. So if you are visiting the park in the close future, definitely don't look at it. But it is really cool. Like there's also some lightning packages on the ride, which seems very cool. But I will not spoil any more of that experience for you.
Again, for all, I've never been to Tokyo Dome City, but surely I would think the Hypercoaster Thunder Dolphin will be top of your checklist.
Oh yeah. It's definitely more on many people's bucket list because of the location of the park and it given its proximity to downtown Tokyo is such a convenient place to visit after you visit like other attractions such as Imperial Palace, Koshikawa Guen, and Tokyo Skytree nearby. But it's definitely not worth visiting the park alone, but more if you are visiting Tokyo as a side thing to do. It shouldn't take too long of your day to enjoy the atmosphere in the park. So ideally, maybe half a day. What do you think?
Yeah, that's roughly about it. And again, for any foreign tourists go to Japan, I'm pretty sure that Japan is still working on it, and I think they've improved in terms of English communication. I'm pretty sure that if you do not show off your sparkling, flamboyant English terms, just speak simply and slowly, I'm pretty sure that they'll be very happy to help you and give you directions.
Yeah. I mean, even though the English might not be the best, honestly, don't worry. It's such a modern country where people are more than willing to help you if you ask for it. And
Yeah, don't worry, just go for it.
yeah, definitely. But in terms of accommodation, I think maybe because we are talking about maybe doing other attractions nearby, like going to Odaiba. I just think it's probably makes more sense to stay in downtown Tokyo. What do you think?
I would say it depends on your budget. You think, all right, just thousands of dollars, no problem. Okay, go ahead, live in downtown Tokyo. Or if you are more of that type of person which you need to control and cut down on your budget. One good choice for backpackers will be capsule hotels, which they're also in down or in a city center, which they are small but not quite small and quite convenient. Or you can choose to live on the outskirts of Tokyo and get a 20-minute train back to the city center. That's also a good option.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Because sometimes if you're staying in the central, it could be expensive. But one advice I would be recommending is staying in one of the hotels in like Ikebukuro, which is just a really good area to hang out. And there's like even an aquarium in there in a shopping mall called Sunshine City. So that's pretty cool too. Yeah, let's move on to the next section of our show. And this week we are discussing about what makes a theme park experience.
Well, I think for theme park, the most important thing will be theme. So for Disney, obviously, the Disney theme, which you may meet your dear old Mickey, Minnie, Donald Duck, Goofy, etc., etc. Or you may choose to go somewhere like the Warner Brothers movie world. You may meet some of your dear characters like Tweets, for example.
Yeah, so would you say that sort of interaction with mascots in the park kind of makes a experience for the smaller ones?
Yeah, or in Disney, I'm not sure what time is it during the day, but there will be parade with all the characters coming out and waving at you, and you can watch the show on the main street.
Oh yeah, I mean shows when it comes to the big parks, shows are definitely a big part of what your day might be. Such as if you are visiting Disney or Universal parks, they are very much focused on shows and not necessarily that they usually feature the most thrilling rides or the most crazy like roller coaster like in Six Flags parks in America, but generally just more sort of down the theming route. Talking about theming, I think soundtrack is really important. Like if a park just plays lazy pop music without but thinking much into fitting the music around the area itself, I just think it really ruins the experience for everyone, doesn't it?
Yeah, in Disney, you play some of the Disney background music or any of the Disney movie songs, for example. But if you play something like the shape of you, then oh my god, that will just ruin the experience. Although, well, not a bad song, but nah.
Yeah. It's just like, can you imagine if you pay like I don't know, like $70 or 70 US dollars, and just like I don't know how much the entrance for like Disney parks are, like Disneyland and Anaheim parks are. But can you imagine just like walking up to the castle and listening to pop songs, and it would just ruin the magic for like everyone. And this doesn't really just apply to big chain theme parks, but also smaller theme parks. Because I know that in Europe, for example, in Fantasia Lands or in Alton Towers, they are really looking to use custom made soundtracks, like the one produced by Score. So those things I think are really important because it throws you into the world of whatever they are trying to portray, such as in Disney, in the case of Disney, maybe in Tomorrowland, throwing you into the future visions of tomorrow.
Yeah. So the theme song should sound modern than if you talk about tomorrow or stuff.
But also, I think it's important for them to keep it updated. Like one of the problems with like the older Disneylands or the more traditional versions of Disneyland, such as the one that you could see on Hong Kong Disneyland, is that the white dome structure really doesn't age well. Sort of like it's not really futuristic anymore, but when you think about the other theme parks like Shanghai Disneyland that have like the Tron Light Cycle Run roller coaster, I think that sort of buildings are really futuristic and looks really cool. And I think for a theme to endure, it must pass the test of time, don't you think?
Yep. So kind of a bit out of the field, but if there are any car enthusiasts here, I'll take an example of a 1991 Honda NSX NA1. Even if you look at the car today, it doesn't seem outdated. It's a very nice design with a pop-up headlights. So something similar should be applied to a theme park, to any of the rides or facilities. So they have to endure the challenge of the flowing time.
Oh, yeah. You just had to put in a bit of car nerdiness, don't you? Don't you just like love cars?
Yeah. You know me.
Yeah. Gotcha. But other than that, most obviously, when you're entering the park, I think it's really important to sort of take note of what attractions are open and what are not. Like, if you arrive at a theme park and not know what rides are closed, I think you could be in for some disappointment sometimes, especially when some attractions are undergoing maintenance.
Yeah, that's sometimes the case for me when I go to any theme parks. So the ride will be closed because they're fixing it, or for example, if that ride involves boat ride, then they say, oh, the engine is not working. They say, come on.
Yeah, sometimes, especially when there are fewer attractions like that, right? Like maybe say if a small world is done in like a Disney park, other rides are gonna have a longer queue line as a result. But obviously, Disney doesn't really suffer too much from it because of how high capacity some of the rides have. But in smaller parks, it could be a big problem. And definitely worth having a look at the park's website for what attractions are open or what are not before you want to visit. Because, for example, in Alton Towers, I know sometimes on some part of the season, they are actually not open for the whole week. So sometimes they do off days on like midweek. So better check the dates before you visit the park, or else you might leave disappointed.
Yeah, I don't know, but do theme parks post on their social media or website in terms of any planned maintenance period for any rides? Do they do similar things?
Well, I know, judging from my experience with Ocean Park, they don't really do that. But on the websites, you could usually find sort of maintenance schedules and opening hours and also things like that. So when you're planning a day at a theme park, it's definitely worth your time to spend some time, have a look at whether all of the attractions that you want to ride are actually open or not.
Yeah, that's definitely important. And you don't waste your time going to a park that your favorite ride's not on. And I do not wish anyone to be disappointed when going to theme parks because it's a special moment.
Yeah. Theme park provides sort of an escape from reality almost, especially when it comes to just immersing yourself into the themes of the lands. This is especially seen in like Europa Park, for example. In Europe, does this really well in terms of different sort of countries and things like that. And Tokyo Disney Sea is easily one of the best theme parks in the world due to how much theming they put into place with the volcano as the centerpiece. It is just marvelous.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of theming, I would also like to point out the transportation again, but not in the hardware, but in terms of the theming. You know, for Hong Kong Disneyland, if you take the train to Disneyland, the train is actually decorated with Disney themings, and even the door is Mickey Mouse shape.
Oh, yeah. Don't you think that adds to the experience itself? Because even with like a themed transport to the park itself, actually what it does really well in Hong Kong Disneyland is that even on the Disneyland line itself, you could see such theming that you easily forget that you're on a public transit system to the park.
Yeah, and also there won't be any normal trains running on that line. The Disney train is specialized for that line, so that experience is guaranteed. And there are also some models or sculptures inside the train, so you can probably check that out. Or on another hand, in Ocean Park, again, I think I might have mentioned that last time, that for the buses, the bus 629 to the Ocean Park, probably in the 90s, the bus company actually adopted a Ocean Park special livery, and that bus is specialized for this Route 8 629 to Ocean Park. And they basically wrap the bus inside and outside. Maybe not as fascinating as the sculptures in the Disney train, but I would say that's also a good thing. And well, it's not that expensive. And this just extend your enjoyment in Ocean Park, even when you leave the park and take 629 back to city center.
Yeah, I mean, that comes to another aspect of how a theme park advertise themselves. It's not really the best thing when they just advertise themselves as with high thrill attractions like Six Flags, the Six Flags chain in general in America. They just like put advertising on every ride, and there's like advertisements everywhere, which really ruins the park atmosphere for you.
Yeah, so that has to be done moderately at a certain extent.
Yeah. Even Disney does it. Like Disney, like Kodak. I know in Japan they have like different sponsors as well, but not looking at you particularly Disney, but yeah, you're a big co-founder of this. So when you go to Disney park, it turns out it might not be as magical as you think it is.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we move on to staff?
Yeah, sure. What do you think about staffs in theme parks?
As expected, they'll try their very best to help you, even if you speak a different language, that's for sure, around the world. And they probably will not completely, but kind of create the theme of the park, kind of, if you know what I mean. So, for example, a staff in Disneyland, they obviously they do not wear the Mickey Mouse costume, but put on a Disney cap or something like that.
Yeah, I think how they are dressed up to the area they belong to, and how they actually interact with guests makes the experience itself. For example, I know that in Japanese theme parks like Universal Studios Japan, they do it really well because say you're entering the Jurassic Park area in the queue line for Flying Dinosaur, even though the theming in the queue line isn't really present, the staffs on the ride actually try to cheer you up and hype you up with this dinosaur experience and sort of engage yourself into the Jurassic Park theming itself, and that really makes it for me because you kind of feel like, oh my god, I'm actually stuck in Jurassic Park and I'm getting on this like flying roller coaster, which really kind of like builds up anticipation for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And I think small thing, and not many people will know about this. I don't know why, but I happen to know this. For any smaller visitors in Disney, if you ask the staff, I've heard that they can offer you a sticker or a little badge, something like that, if you ask.
Yeah, actually, for example, if you are visiting Disney for the first time, in like say Disneyland Anaheim, for example, in California, you could ask for the stars for a sticker for that says first time visit to Disneyland, and that would actually change your experience for visiting the park. And most likely, the stars are gonna take care of you and interact with you more. Or even if you have a special occasion, say if you have wedding anniversary, then you could ask stars for that sort of stickers too. So Disney is really good at that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and well, a bit out of field, but I would say it also attracts people to go to a theme park if I'm not sure intentionally or unintentionally they create some kind of mysterious thing, like Club 33 in Disney.
Oh yeah, like that definitely is part of the more luxury experience, doesn't it? Like as an upcharge on or like that exclusive sort of experience. It kind of removes you from the main part itself, but at the same time, you kind of feel more privileged, and that could be some sort of really magical experience on top of your already magical experience in a theme park. Even sometimes, like roller coaster enthusiasts doing things like climbing the lift hill on a ride, on the board, on the walk on the side for the chain lift could be really interesting. Just looking at how things work in the background, that could also add to the experience. Such as if you go to Busch Gardens, Tampa, I know they do some backstage tours, and yeah, it's just interesting. Even in Ocean Park, they do some backstage tours on animal cares, and although they don't do it on free rides in particular, but they usually do some sort of dolphin interaction things as a upcharge. I think that sort of exclusive experience kind of adds to your park day, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing that is really sort of underrated in like theme parks is having sort of weenie, as Walt Disney would have called, otherwise known as a centerpiece, is that a park needs to have a spotlight in whatever, like the center of the park, or just to draw attention for people coming into the park to understand what the philosophy behind the park is.
Yeah, so to Disney, it will have to be Cinderella's castle.
Yeah, I mean that is really important, but it's not like necessary. But if there's such a centerpiece in park, then that's what differentiates you from amusement park to theme park. Particularly in, like, I know, for example, in Canada's Wonderland, they have the Wonder Mountain at the front with several rides running by it, which is really cool with like waterfall. I think that also provides like quite a good place if you're just chilling out or have a rest from like going getting on rides once you're very exhausted, or even have a lunch like by like the centerpiece.
And for us, the next thing is the smell. So remember you mentioned that there's a smell pump, like just giving out some sort of gas, which kind of enhance experience. Like for me, I remember that, for a little Disney theater in Hong Kong, Disneyland. In a show, I remember that when Donald Duck kind of splashed a box of soda and the theater just smells like soda.
Yeah, I think adding smells is really important to like stimulate your interest in the theme park in general, such as like classic cookie smells that they pump out in Main Street USA in like Magic Kingdom parks. I just think that sort of smell really sort of attracts you to buy the cookie itself or like sweets itself, but at the same time it adds to the liveliness of the theme park, even though it's not real, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
But speaking of smells, we have to mention about food. Like, food at parks are sometimes not the best. Like, if you go to, like, I don't know, Alton Towers or Ocean Park, for example, they don't do really, like, themed foods. But I know, for example, in Universal Studios in Japan, they are recently starting to introduce a new menu for the Super Nintendo World that's just opened a few weeks ago, and they have like themes like cakes and buns, and I think that's a specialty item. It's really attractive to different age groups, and it definitely helps you to immerse yourself more even during your meal time, which makes it special. Like, for example, like I know that Harry Potter, in the Wizard World of Harry Potter areas, usually they feature a restaurant called the Three Brooms, I think, and they do really traditional British meals, as you see in the UK. So they do fish and chips and rolls, foods and things like that. So I think that really gives you the illusion that you're actually in the UK, but you're not actually.
In terms of, well, I remember that back in my, again, Disney in Hong Kong, when I went to a restaurant like inside. I remember that I had I think it's a ramen set, maybe. Well, it's pretty easy for Disneyland to, just print Disney patterns on the bowl, on everything and stuff. But even for bits of food, like what's it called? There is a piece of thingy made with fish, white and pink, and it looks like a spiral thing. And that piece of ingredient is actually the shape of a Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think it's more like those small touch that makes Disney different from everyone else. Even though I feel like they are kind of overrated, but I still think that they do care a lot about the customer experience. And after all, I think that's the most important thing in park visit itself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as technology develops, there are more and more of the virtual reality thing. Do you think that is still a good thing? Because I know it looks real, but it's not kind of the same thing.
Oh, you mean like virtual realities on rides and things like that?
Yeah,
Yeah. Personally, I'm not a big fan of adding virtual reality onto a ride or onto a roller coaster. Particularly in roller coasters, I'm really not a big fan because I just think if you could do like actual theming pieces and rockwork and landscaping around the ride, why would you want to put on a headset? And I just think it's quite a lazy way to do things. But I'm not opposed to introducing VR rides into theme parks if only they are like dedicated VR attractions. I don't think theme parks should be looking at adding just VR rides on every single ride just to save the money on doing the areas inside the ride building itself and things like that. So, all in all, I think it could be a good thing, but at the same time, I think when it's not done well and when it has technical issues, we are not looking at you, Darren Brown's Ghost Train. But yeah, like I just think those sort of VR attractions are really a risk for parks to take because sometimes they don't work out the way that many wanted to. So I think it's a big risk.
yeah, and pretty sure a lot of them are doing the same thing. Well, I think it's the same thing again in the car industry. A bit outside of field, but I just want to point out the fact that some sports cars they actually add speakers, well, very well hidden inside the car cabin, and it basically plays the engine sound, which is not quite the same thing. Although you might think that, oh yeah, it's loud, but it's so lame.
Oh yeah, but I mean, onboard audio can kind of like make the experience better if like some sort of inbuilt speakers are built onto a ride, such as in Hollywood Dream the ride or on Hollywood Ride Rocket in Universal Parks. So I just think rather than VR, I would much rather more rides to be built with onboard audio with like the music playing throughout. That really makes the experience for me.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think to sum up our discussion, the important things about going to a park, I think, is that it has to have a good soundtrack, good theming, good use of wheelies, and also most importantly, it's down to you to decide how good or how bad your theme park experience is when it comes to yourself planning out a trip to a park. So if you know a park has bad operations, then it's definitely worth maybe spending more time or getting a fast pass or whatever that would enhance your experience. Do you agree with my thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Yeah. Before we end off, we have like a few questions that were sent in from our listeners. So let's get on to the final section of the show where we answer some of your questions. So our good friends from Perry Coastings, Mitch and Logan. Mitch has like the Instagram name at Coaster Travel, and Logan has Instagram name of at that guy from Saskatchewan. They sent some questions actually. Do you want to read out what Mitch asked?
Yeah, bring them ahead. So he said that if you could build a brand new park in Hong Kong, what or where will it be and what rides will you include in the park? So I think we agreed that if possible, it can be in the central harbour front. Well, actually, there is an empty piece of land to our Ferris wheel right at the Star Ferry pier. That may be useful. And it is a very, very good location because while you can enjoy the rides, maybe a roller coaster which stretches a bit in the ocean, a bit in the harbor. I think that might be possible, maybe not.
Yeah, I think most possibly, like, when it comes to building a park in Hong Kong, it's quite tight on space and things like that. So maybe building a park in country park areas would not be the best option. So I think Central Harbourfront is definitely a good choice. But I think it could also undergo like Boardwalk Park as layout, and just like HM just mentioned, I think adding like small thrilling coasters that take up small space, like Gerstlauer Infinity coasters, or like something like Smiler would be really cool. Like really tight in space, really compact with stylized theming, like Icon in Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And maybe an RMC Raptor would be really cool. Like RMC Raptor that goes into the sea. That would be really cool. Like just to make sure that, but those rides cannot be too tall, cause or else it will just ruin the skyline of the harbor. But I think just have a broadwalk atmosphere and have plenty of flat rides and family rides. That could be really good. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. And also, because the park is in Hong Kong, we have to have our culture in. Bring our street food in. Bring our cha chan tang culture in. Milk tea and stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, food probably like the most important part, and I think outside of that, like bringing in local food, it would be really cool if it could also act as a entertainment venue with a permanent stage installed where some concerts would be hosted, and there would be like rave and DJs, like sort of entertaining people, and that could be a separate ticket event, and it would be really special, like something similar to Grunland in Sweden, Stockholm would be really cool. Yeah. Moving on to our next question. So Logan, that guy from Saskatchewan, asked that what is your favorite snack to get at park?
I think for most people, they would enjoy a hot dog or a popcorn in a park, but it still depends on the weather. If it's hot, then those two things will be okay. But in hot sunny days, ice cream will be one of the main one, especially if you're in Japan. For anyone going to Japan, you must, I'm saying you must, go and try out the milk or melon flavor ice cream. Absolutely awesome. Basically, you don't really need to mind about the brand or what shop you're getting. Any of them is awesome. Japanese milk, the best.
Yeah, the ice cream definitely underrated. And me personally, I'm more a traditional guy that has like junk food theme parks. But when I go to Universal parks, such as Universal Studios Japan, I really like getting specific merchandise foods like butter beer. Oh my god, that's bloody awesome. And they even have a version of butter beer with actual beer. So they have an alcoholic version of it.
Ooh.
But yeah, I generally, when it comes to other amusement parks or theme parks, I just like getting ice creams or slushies. That could really cool you off on a hot summer day, which is something that you would only find in Asia, but in Southeastern Asia. But yeah, I don't really have much to say when it comes to winter time. So I would say a classic slushy or classic ice. Yeah, and also he added that the atmosphere makes a park visit for him, and also he really likes sights, sounds, and smells that he find like he enjoyed the most. So yeah, pretty similar to what we discussed in the episode, but I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Lastly, we have at Flowjector_photos. What is your top bucket list national park in the US?
Well, definitely the famous Yellowstone National Park. Not sure in full, but Yellowstone in Idaho.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I have to say the same. Yellowstone is really cool because of geysers and fountains and things like that. But I think there are just way too many national parks that I really want to go to, like Grand Canyon.
Haha, I've been there.
Oh no! I'm so jealous, honestly.
Oh, so bloody hot.
It's so good, but Grand Canyon looks really cool. Mammoth Cave also. I'm surprised not many people talk about it, but Mammoth Cave in like Kentucky looks really impressive too, with like the cave systems. I'm not really sure whether you could explore the caves or is it all open, because I suppose it's like one of the largest cave systems in the world. So I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, I think I'm not entirely sure. Oh, by the way, have you done the U-shaped bridge in Grand Canyon?
I think I might have been there, but not quite remembering the exact name of that. But in Grand Canyon, definitely go and have a helicopter ride or a chopper ride.
Hell yeah! Welcome to the widest ride of your life! Sorry guys, had to do that impression, but that's all. But yeah, sorry, my American accent is terrible, but hope you find that amusing. Yeah, before we wrap up our episode, for the next episode, whenever that might be, we might be talking about what is credit, and there's quite a debate on what is credit and what is not. But you can find me on Instagram. You can find HCB on Instagram at HK_RC or if you want to see more about my personal life updates and things like that, at HK_RC2. HM, do you want to plug in your socials?
Yeah, of course. So for me, you can find me at Hoshi_Makoto_HK UK. Although some of my contents are fully in Chinese, but for sure, I will definitely add the English description if I think the contents are relevant, because I sometimes do local topics which I think like all of you guys around the world may not be interested. But yeah, for any questions or just want a general chit chat, go ahead, feel free to DM me. I'll always reply you back.
For sure. I think it's really interesting on the sort of stuff he does, because although he is not really enthusiast, so to speak, but he does a lot of stuff about studying in the UK and tips like that. And even though like I've been like studying in the UK for quite a few years now, I still find some of the experience he talked about quite relevant. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely check him out. And yeah, so you can find all of our socials on the bottom. And yeah, HM, do you have anything to say before we wrap up the episode?
Yeah, definitely. Still, COVID-19 is still around, so everyone keep safe. Remember to put a mask on, use the sanitizer, wash your hands, clean your stuff, be hygienic. Wish you guys healthy, and I'll see you next time.
Alright guys, so that's a wrap for our episode today. And remember, if you have any questions or any feedbacks for our show, feel free to DM us on Instagram. And we will see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.